Hello, and welcome to the Common Briefing Program. This is a newsy spin on the Common Geeking Program, where each month we take a look at the hottest headlines from geek news over the past 30-ish days. I am Colin Ketchen. I host these geeky affairs, and I am joined by some geeky friends.
Hi, I'm Jeff Leavitt. I'm here.
Hi, I'm Timel, or Chatter, whichever you prefer.
And whether or not you think it's cringy to throw the word geek around this much, it's in the name of the podcast. If you're here, you're already in it. So we're going to talk about everything that's happened over the last month. We actually had
the word geek was cringy. Is that a thing now?
I mean, no, but listen, I am just sort of riffing on how I felt about what I was saying, and I felt like I said the word too many times to go unremarked upon, you know? Like...
Well, maybe it's not the word geek that's cringe. Maybe it's just you. Do you ever consider that?
Jeff, it's all I consider all the fucking time. That's everything I consider.
Or maybe it's just the way... the capitalist system has taken this subculture and just absolutely turned it into Disneyland. You know what I'm saying?
You're not wrong.
I'm not going to say you're wrong about that, but I will add on the little pepper flakes of, I feel like the subculture of geekdom, absent market exploitation, would continue to spin inward ad infinitum anyways, and then repeat itself in a lot of ways. That is just as a participant of it. But
to be fair, I think I'd rather be at a little bit more mainstream geekiness, because then you have, fewer people being bullied about it in school, or
here's the thing.
Shit like that. You know what I mean?
The pump of mainstream is very typically, in capitalism, the idea that you have things that are not well known, and the original hipster, I was there first before it was cool, take it and then share it with their friends. And then that... For the things that become mainstream, then the hipsters are like, I don't like that anymore. I need to find something new. And
I feel very strongly about this, about one property, and that is the Ugly Dolls.
Wait, those dolls with the plastic teeth and eyes that look absolutely hideous?
No, those are Fugglers. Ugly Dolls are a similar concept, just older. They're much cuter. Okay. But anyway, it was kind of a designer toy thing originally, and then people liked them, so they bought a lot of them, and now there's a fucking Illumination Ugly Dolls movie.
Oh yes,
and it's not that ugly.
And I'm
really
very salty about the fucking Ugly Dolls movie, because Ugly Dolls, part of the charm of them is they have fucking these adorable little character bios that are irreverent and kind of funny, and they lay out all of their relationships with each other and all of this. And then the Ugly Dolls movie is just what if we just fucking use these names of these characters and just make completely new shit that has nothing to do with that? And now that's the Ugly Dolls everybody knows.
And that's how the pump works, because it takes the things from obscurity, pushes them into the mainstream, and everybody knows them, and they have broad appeal. So you might say hey, at least the people that liked Ugly Dolls before aren't being bullied about it now. But whatever the next Ugly Dolls is going to be in a few years, people are being bullied for that right now. And that's where the problem is. And then in 5 years, when Ugly Dolls 2 is popular, they're going to be like, man, I'm so glad that people aren't getting bullied for liking Ugly Dolls 2. And their Colin 2 is going to scrape his glasses up his fucking nose and say, well, actually, the pump of capitalism says Ugly Dolls 3, and it's going to continue.
This conversation has gotten out of hand.
Yes, it is very, very Westworld, very Michael Crichton dystopia, capitalism falling, just leading to the worst instincts of people. And by that, I mean overly commodifying the Ugly Dolls and leading to TV shows that make very little sense. But in season 4 is still fun. Westworld's back, and I'm having a good time with it.
Westworld's back?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I guess I could talk a little bit about that too. I will say up front, this is either going to be a much shorter episode or a much longer episode, depending on how we discuss things. We don't have a ton of individual things to talk about, but we are a couple of opinionated people, a trio, in fact. So let's dive in.
It'll either be a much shorter episode or a much stupider episode.
Yes, one of the two, and I hope you're on board for both. In July of 2022, I had a birthday, and that's the only news that matters to me. But also, there was some Star Trek news that lit my heart on fucking fire. Star Trek has had a lot of shows come out recently, and my whole life, I've never been shy to profess my care for the franchise, but I've always been very careful about how I recommend it to people, because I try to understand what people will actually enjoy. I enjoy Star Trek Discovery. I do not recommend it to everybody, because I think it has some pretty specific qualities to it that some people will enjoy and some won't.
That's a descriptor.
Out of all the shows that have come out recently, I have been pretty universal in my praise and support for both Star Trek Lower Decks, the animated comedy series by Mike McMahon of Solar Opposites and Rick and Morty fame, and Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which is technically a spin-off of Discovery and a prequel to the original series from the 60s. It has a lot of retro vibes, but the big thing is that it's like episode of the week, and it's an incredibly strong show that had an incredibly strong first season. I love these shows very much. In the timeline, they are obviously very different, because one's an animated comedy and one is a live-action drama. And they take place about 120-ish years apart from each other. So when San Diego Comic-Con was happening, which is surprising because we don't have a ton of news stories, even though San Diego Comic-Con happened, they announced that there was going to be a crossover in season 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, where 2 of the main characters from the animated show Lower Decks will be visiting the show. There will be a crossover between these 2 series. It's Star Trek. They do time travel all the time. They've crossed series in ways like this before, but never by like having the cast come and join like this, really. So this is kind of new and fun. But Tawny Newsome and Jack Quaid will be playing live action version of their characters, I believe, on Star Trek Strange New World Season 2. That's it. I'm so stoked for that. It is just pure unapologetic fun. It doesn't make any sense on paper, but it's like, what if we just put our 2 best shows together? And I'm kind of here for that. I like when franchises and shows lean into their resources. We have yet to see whether or not it will make good use of those resources, but I think they're pulling from 2 very strong wells, and I can't imagine not at least having a good time. So I think that's fantastic. Other than that, I do want to shout out a show that has dropped on HBO Max this past month also. This just something to put on everyone's radar just because I feel so strongly about it. Nathan Fielder of Nathan For You fame has a new show called The Rehearsal. The premise of the show is that he helps people construct elaborate simulations of difficult life decisions and helps them rehearse what they could do going forward, all through like a kind of like a very deadpan narration and a lot of strange behavioral quirks, as is typical for Nathan Fielder. That description sounds at once intriguing, but also kind of sterile. I'm just going to say it's a mindfuck top to bottom. And in episode 2, the introduction, I have never yelled at my TV more than those 2 minutes. It was absolutely stunning. It's a very weird show. It is not for everyone, but that is something that dropped this month that's very big. I also managed to get out and see Jordan Peele's Nope, which is now, I believe, one of the highest grossing original movies since Us of the past, like post-pandemic. Us was his last movie before the pandemic, but it's that and Everything Everywhere All at Once have both set some records for, I believe Everything Everywhere All at Once is A24, the publisher's highest grossing film ever, having crossed $100 million globally, whereas Nope, hold on, let me pull up these numbers. I didn't have the numbers handy. But Nope has also managed to pull some pretty strong numbers in a box office that's been pretty dominated by Marvel and like family movies. So Nope is also fantastically fun, and I highly recommend seeing that as well. I'd be down to do an episode on it in the future, but it was nice to see, given that it didn't have quite the same fanfare as Us, as like the follow-up to Get Out, in terms of its release, I think it is a very strong entry and worth your time.
Despite what Logan Paul says.
What the fuck did Logan Paul say about Nope?
Oh, Logan Paul made a post on Twitter or something saying that he didn't think Nope was very good. And then everyone responded with, well, at least they didn't just go out into the woods and film a dead body. Because that's the thing that Logan Paul did.
Nope, I will tell you this, it is certainly better than that. No, I like it a lot. I think it's a little less explicitly thematic in a way that his first 2 movies are. But I still found it very like it had a strong sense of self and identity. It is also much more of like a straight up piece of entertainment. I found Us and Get Out both very entertaining, but this is like big screen thrilling in a way that I wasn't expecting, and much more let loose kind of fun while still being very creepy, very surprising. All in all, I think an absolutely wonderful addition to his lineup. It's a little, I saw someone describe it as Spielbergian, which I think is sort of a mixed connotations in my book, but I think it is, I think if you added Spielberg to Jordan Peele's works, this is like the best version of that you could get. I had a very good time. The last thing that I want to mention is everything, because while San Diego Comic-Con didn't have a ton of news, DC was very quiet.
Everywhere, all at once.
True. Like DC was pretty quiet because, I mean, Amber Heard and Ezra Miller have both been dominating the news in the worst possible ways. So they have not been advertising their stuff. Oh, they were trying to keep secret that Ben Affleck is back in Aquaman 2, which was leaked.
There was a new Shazam trailer, wasn't there?
I believe we got a Shazam Fury of the Gods trailer and was the Black Adam. Was that trailer this month? Black Adam?
Yeah.
That was this month. It wasn't at Comic-Con though.
Okay.
I saw the Black Adam trailer in a movie like before like the filming or the showing of a movie. I forget which movie, but I do remember seeing that trailer. Maybe
a bad sign that you forgot the movie but remembered a trailer. Anyway, so the thing that did get announced that was big was for the first time since Avengers Endgame, the Marvel Industrial Complex has decided to tell us what the fuck they're doing. And that came in the form of saying Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, that movie where, you know, the lead actor passed away and we've said literally nothing about it for 2 years. That's still coming out in a couple weeks. And that's the end of Phase 4 of our franchise. Phase 4 of our franchise began in... was it the fall of 2019? Was there another 2019 Marvel movie after Spider-Man Far From Home? I don't recall. I'm trying to think. I don't think so.
Was Spider-Man Far From Home the first?
And no, that was the last of Phase 3. Phase 3 ended with Endgame.
Endgame wasn't the last of...
No, they consider Spider-Man Far From Home the end of Phase 3. I mean, it's all their own organization.
Okay.
They considered it like the epilogue to it.
Right.
But I believe that may have been the last one. If I'm forgetting something, I'm so sorry. But then we went on hiatus because of, you know, the apocalypse, and we came back in 2021 swinging as 2 years of content was crammed into one. We got a bunch of Disney Plus series. We got 4 movies in like 4 months. It was absolutely bananas. And this year we have had Moon Knight, Multiverse of Madness, Love and Thunder, Miss Marvel, and we've got more on the way in the forms of She-Hulk and Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And they said Phase 4 is finally coming to an end, and the overwhelming sensation from Phase 4 has been, hey, what's going to happen? What are we building toward? Is there going to be a single bad guy? Is there going to be like an Avengers movie that we're looking forward to? The sense of sort of like floaty, no clue of what's next has been in a lot of, you know, headlines and people saying like, has the MCU lost its way? And I mean, if you think back to 2008, all we knew was an Avengers movie was going to happen, and it was 4 years of not knowing, but we never had interconnected movies before, so there was novelty to it. And this time it just felt like I've got like 8 movies in a year and I don't know how any of them are related. Like, we just have to trust that they're related, and it's a weird energy. And you've sort of been left to the mercy of, do you like each movie and series? Well, now we have our Phase 5 outline. After Wakanda Forever closes out Phase 4, which I believe Feige and his fellow producers have said is really about introducing characters, setting up new characters, new threads, if not an explicit storyline. Phase 5 is going to be a little more explicitly bringing people together for the next crossovers. So Phase 5, beginning in 2023, we are going to have films such as Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which will be the last Guardians of the Galaxy of this team. We are going to have the Marvels.
Wait, that's a weird... They said that?
Yes.
Interesting.
It leaves them open to like having a new Guardians team because there were multiple Guardians teams in the comics.
Yeah.
But like the Chris Pratt-led group, they're saying this is the last movie of these particular characters. Then we're going to have The Marvels, which is the sequel to Captain Marvel, including Miss Marvel and the daughter of Monica Rambeau. Is it Monica Rambeau? Is that the
Monica
character?
Rambeau.
That's the younger one?
Yeah.
The daughter?
Monica is the younger one. Maria is the older one.
Okay, yeah. So Monica Rambeau and Kamala Khan, are going to be both showing up in The Marvels. We have Blade starring Mahershala Ali and Captain America.
Probably going to have... Is that going to have Kit Harington in it too? Because they said that Blade is going to predate Eternals.
Yeah, I believe he's going to be in it, but I don't know if that casting is like official. And then Phase 5 is going to close out with Captain America: New World Order and the Thunderbolts. Interspersed in there are going to be a few other series, such as Secret Invasion, starring Sam Jackson, Echo, which is a spinoff of Hawkeye and the character Echo in that show, Season 2 of Loki, Ironheart, whose character Riri Williams is going to be introduced in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Agatha, Coven of Chaos, they got a rename for that series, and probably the biggest surprise that made some headlines is Daredevil, Born Again, starring Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio. We don't know if it is going to hard reset the previous Daredevil series, which is now on Disney+, or if it is going to be just a continuation. We don't know if Foggy and Karen are coming back. Maybe the Punisher is going to show up. We don't know anything about it, but it's called Daredevil Born Again, and it's coming in 2024.
The biggest thing about that is that it's 18 episodes, right?
Yeah, which is 3 times the length of any Disney Plus series so far. So, like,
which is because some of them I feel like really could have used a bit more, whereas others are like, that was a good kind of mini series. Like, I definitely felt like Miss Marvel could have used more episodes.
Yes. Miss Marvel could have used more episodes, and maybe I think a lot of the other shows could have as well. So I'm hoping it's a sign of things to come. That's Phase 5, as has been described to us. And Phase 6 has also been lightly teased in that we are getting a Fantastic Four movie and 2 Avengers movies in the same year, only a few months apart. Mm-hmm. We are going to be getting Avengers: The Kang Dynasty and Avengers: Secret Wars.
And the Secret Wars is going to be a show, right?
No, Secret Invasion is a show that's coming out.
Oh, Secret Invasion.
Year.
Okay, sorry. I was
Secret Wars is like, I do not know much about the comics. It is like...
No, I just think having a show called Secret Invasion and a movie called Secret Wars is dumb.
It's confusing,
It would not be the dumbest thing that this franchise has done, but here we are. Secret Wars, the big multiversal battle, is the last movie they announced before saying this is called the Multiverse Saga, whereas the first 10 years of the franchise were called the Infinity Saga. This is the Multiverse
wait
Saga.
Till that's over. Can we, as a society, finish up the Multiverse Saga? I'm sick of it just from this year.
I mean, that is a ton of stuff. It's all coming out in like the next 3 years.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And just reading that list to you took several minutes. And I'm
honestly,
kind of already done.
It was exhausting just listening to all that.
It's sort of like
so much.
It's like when you remember when Pixar was like real hot shit, and like every year they would release one movie and it would always be really good, and they didn't do sequels aside from Toy Story because that was the first one. Mm-hmm. And just all of the movies were really good for like a fucking solid decade. And then they're like, hey, what if we just released several movies a year? And now they're just kind of like only as good as generic Disney movies. It's just like, come on, guys. Quality over quantity, please.
Yes, and obviously there's a lot that goes into certain things. Creative teams make all the difference, and if Disney continues to support those creative teams, that's great. But it does smell a little bit like Netflix bloat, in that you've got series getting greenlit left and right, and you just kind of have to wait for the gems to bubble to the top unless you're really interested in exploring those things. And
and especially with all the other stuff we've heard about, like how just like absolutely miserable it is to work for Marvel as a VFX artist. And it's just like, well, I mean, part of the reason for that is also because of like how much they churn out, and, you know, like the people that they hire not being specifically, you know,
I don't care who you are, how much money you have. This is a tremendous amount of very expensive content being pushed out in a very tight window of time. And that is going to have real impacts on the people making it. There have been some people speaking out over this past month about how unpleasant it is to work as a contractor for Marvel, for VFX, or for other things.
It was going to be one of the things I talk about, but I guess since we're here, just there have been a couple of articles, and like, you know, there's just a lot of really telling things, just like of how Marvel will like demand things at the last minute, and if you fail to produce, they will blacklist your studio, and like how like they'll like have directors who aren't used to working with VFX departments, and just those directors don't know what they want, so they'll just be like, oh, make it like this, and then they bring you this, and they'll be like, no, make it like that. And I think one of the worst things is like how they can't, like, when they give you a draft, it can't be like, you know, an actual rough draft. It has to be like a fucking perfect render, because the filmmakers can't visually envision something in their head, which is just fucking wild to me. You work in movies, you work in a visual medium, man. Like, let me find the exact word.
And a lot of times, and if you want some insight into what these things actually look like, the Corridor Crew channel and their VFX Artists React, they have a lot of videos that specifically sit down with VFX supervisors and stunt coordinators for Marvel Cinematic Universe properties, and it's obviously that's presented through a more like informative, infotainment lens, but you can get a sense of exactly what you're describing, as supervisors are like, oh yeah, sometimes they just give us something and we have to come up with it, and it sounds laudable in the moment, but again, when you're looking at this list of so many things coming out so quickly, it's very easy to react to the first She-Hulk trailer and say, these VFX are bad. And I mean, if you think about it from like a studio standpoint, look at what happened with Sonic. Like, you've got studio execs who are like, this is all that matters. As people say it looks bad, we need to fix it. And they're just giving orders, and the bureaucracy is so disconnected and they're so rich with cash that they can just literally shout money down the pipeline until they get what they want. But at the other end of that pipeline are the people who have to get it done.
Yeah.
And
especially because
they don't see a lick of that money.
Nope.
Right. When something like this starts making the tremendous amount of money that Marvel does, then it really starts to be like people trying to streamline and you know, like cut corners in that process, but to like save money and to like get things done faster. But like you said, is like where that usually falls on are like the people having to do the grunt work who don't actually get to, you know, see any benefit from the higher return in productivity.
And to Chowder's point, if you have a director that is not familiar with working with VFX departments, or speaking that language or dealing with those tools, if they don't come with a plan and if they haven't shot the movie to be built this way, I mean, you see it all the time in those videos that I was mentioning, where the VFX coordinators are like, it was easier, instead of actually trying to merge these two shots together, it was easier to recreate everything from the ground up in CG. Like, you're given assets that were not built to support these pipelines. And then Disney doesn't seem to respect that, at least from these testimonials, doesn't seem to respect that when making their demands. They're just like, no, we have a deadline and that's it. There's one specific shot in Thor Love and Thunder when they're panning around a big, beautiful city, but the frame rate is so low you can't get a clear fucking look at it, and you know that came down to a bad deadline. Anyway, Chatter, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, I found the paragraph from that I was thinking of from an article in Vulture. The main problem, quote, the main problem is most Marvel directors aren't familiar with working with visual effects. A lot of them have just done little indies at Sundance Film Festival and have never worked with VFX. They don't know how to visualize something that's not there yet. That's not on set with them. So Marvel often starts asking for what we call final renders. As we're working through a movie, we'll send work in progress images that are not pretty but show where we're at. Marvel often asks them to be delivered at much higher quality very early on, and that takes a lot of time. Marvel does this because it's direct.
A lot of times nowadays what people will do is pre-visualize things where they create these rough drafts before shooting so that you know and can visualize what you're going to do. previs comes before shooting, and then you shoot it to match the previs, and then it goes off to the different houses to do the work and bring everything together. But if that planning isn't being done up front, then it all has to be done on the back end by a bunch of different studios, all handling different parts of the same movie. It's just, I can't even imagine the logistical nightmare of it. So when I look at this list of movies and TV shows...
What if they just fucking storyboarded their goddamn movies?
I mean, previs is essentially storyboarding. That it is.
Yeah,
it is like, yeah. And that kind of planning goes a long way. So, like, from an industry production standpoint, there's more scrutiny on this franchise than ever. From a pop culture standpoint, there's a sort of wobbly sense of where we want this to go. Off mic, we were talking about it like, Jeff, these last two movies hit you in a bad way, and it's totally changing what you're looking forward to. For me, I've been sort of hit and miss for a bit, so I'm just like... I'm staring at this list like, do I want to watch all this stuff? I don't know. I might if I have the time. I'm getting busier and busier as the time goes on. Do I want to watch Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania? Absolutely. Do I want to watch Echo? I don't know, man. Probably not. And
I certainly don't. I didn't find that character extremely compelling in the not very, not super stellar show that she was in. So it's just like, all right. Well, like, it's like, I liked fucking Agatha Harkness in WandaVision a whole lot. And I'm like, but does she need her own show? I don't think so.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know. With all these, like, I mean, the shows are one thing, right? Because, like, if you have a Disney Plus membership, then it's like, okay, you can just watch them for not free, but for what you would have been paying anyway.
Yeah, for like $7.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I think my stance going forward is probably going to be, I'm not going to pay to go see the movies. I'll probably watch them when they come out on streaming, but I just...
That's fair. And I think this is a good point for the people, because I know that for a lot of people, the MCU is like the first big geek fandom that they've latched onto because it has been such a massive, massive mainstream success. And speaking as someone who's been a fan of things before, during, and after the heyday of the MCU, it is very easy to fall prey to this sense of obligation to it.
Right, yeah.
This is an excellent time to reevaluate that sense. What are you looking for? What are you into? Is it worth the weird politics? Is it worth the problems it's creating for studios? And also, are you watching stuff to watch it or watching stuff because you care? And what I don't think Marvel has done in all this reveal of phase 5 and 6 for their next few movies is given people something like that to latch onto. And that I'm just sort of echoing the criticisms that people have been saying about it's directionless. But I think beyond that, there are so many things to watch now. The idea of character-based spin-offs, you've got your fucking smash hit successes like Peacemaker. But again, like, is Echo gonna be a Peacemaker surprise hit? I don't fucking know. And it's fine to not know. But this was arguably the biggest piece of news of the month. And the only conversation around it has been, aside from like the joy of Daredevil coming back, just been a lot of like, okay, but what's the point? And that's...
Yeah. Also, to be honest, like, I don't have tremendously high hopes about Daredevil either. I don't think it's high hopes.
I think it's just that it's not dead because the original show is so beloved. And again, like, the only sparks of like hope coming from this are the facts that previous things were good. Not that this is doing what people want, but that previous things were good. And it's just like, this is a big subjective soup of things. Like, the machine of the MCU is so big that you could spin it a billion different ways. But again, this is the biggest news of the month, and all we can talk about is Daredevil reprisal. Oh, but also VFX artists are being mistreated. There's no direction to go from there, really. It's just, it's such a juggernaut that you kind of have to see where it goes. And I am not seeing privately or publicly a lot of excitement about this, really. And it's just interesting. Yeah. So that's kind of like, when I said that this was either going to be when Jeff said this was either going to be a very short or very stupid episode, I think we've gone to the side of stupidity with this.
Yeah, that's usually where I end up eventually.
But that's about it. I mean, if you guys have no other thoughts on this, I got to tell you, I don't either. I think out of this list, I'm excited for Captain America and Ant-Man, and beyond that, kind of nothing, really. So
I'm excited for Blade. But that's really about it, yeah.
I think I would have been, even past the not liking the last two movies, I think I would have been a lot more excited for Wakanda Forever, but all the stuff during the pandemic of the fucking, what's her name, the fucking lead actress being being super anti-vax just zapped my enthusiasm for that entirely.
We also don't even know if she's going to be like the lead actor, because they're now making a mystery of who the next Black Panther is going to be. I think that's a smart marketing strategy, but one that's starting pretty close to the release of the movie that got drowned out by all this other news. So it's just,
maybe it will be Namor.
who by the way, like, Namor just kind of looks like Serge Tankian from like a System of a Down.
Serge Tankian has a pretty strong aesthetic, though. They wouldn't be wrong to base a character aesthetic on him.
I've got news.
All right, Jeff, hit me with your news.
All right, I've got a few things. All right, so I'll start off with a little bit of sad news. Technoblade died technically last month on the 30th of June. Technoblade is a prominent Minecraft YouTuber and live streamer. And yeah, he died after struggling with cancer for a little while. He was pretty young. He's like, gosh, that's a good, I should have looked that up. How old was Technoblade? I think he was like early 20s. Yeah. But in a kind of nice nod to him, Minecraft added a crown to the pig in their little loading screen, because Technoblade's Minecraft skin was a pig with a crown on it. So that was a kind of a nice touch. Not a whole lot to say about that. It's just, kind of sad seeing a lot of Minecraft YouTubers being like, paying tribute to him in different ways.
Sure.
But we got a trailer for the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
Looks
that
fun,
looked
honestly
interesting. Yeah, I could see. I watched that trailer and I was like, legit. I was like, this is either going to be really good or really bad, and there's nowhere in between.
Yeah,
pretty much. It was like, it looked fun, but it looked fun in the kind of Hollywood way of like, oh, this could be really fun, or this could just be a stupid nightmare.
This could be a Suicide Squad. That trailer was great. What the fuck did I just watch?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Okay, but my favorite thing to come out of that, though, is this tweet where they're announcing who Chris Pine is playing, and the tweet, I quote, Chris Pine is edging the bard. And
that's very funny.
It's very good. Yeah, we got from San Diego Comic-Con, we got the announcement that the first Avatar movie is going to be about the Last Airbender cast set between the original series and Legend of Korra, which my computer in my notes has corrected to Korea. So there's that.
The Legend of Korea is a long and storied tale. Korea. Everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked.
So that, I not a whole lot to say about that, but that does kind of deconfirm that sort of speculated list that we had before about it being about Avatar Kyoshi.
It'll be interesting because the art that was shown with the announcement looks dead on like the flashbacks we saw in Legend of Korra of adult Aang and adult Sokka. Which is great, but it makes me wonder, like, is it going to try to steer clear, or is it going to like try to tie them together more directly? I don't know. It's just interesting. I didn't expect them to root this movie so squarely in one of the shows. I thought it'd be a little more of a departure, so I'm curious.
I'm just like, well, okay, I've got, I'm not going to anticipate it that much, but when it comes out, if it's good, then it'll be good, and that'll be good. We got a trailer for the Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio movie,
the stop motion one on Netflix.
Yeah, that one looks fun, and it looks a lot better than the other Pinocchio trailer that we got a little while ago.
I don't even remember
that other
the
Pinocchio movie.
I remember that you guys were ragging on it, but I didn't remember what
it was mostly just, it didn't look that exciting. It looked a little bit generic, but also Pinocchio's voice was like kind of weird emo teenager kind of voice.
Dad, my nose is too big.
It sounded like a disinterested gay man voice to me.
Yeah, sort of. I didn't want to draw that comparison necessarily, but I could see it going either way. We didn't talk about this when we were talking about Marvel, but we did get another She-Hulk trailer, which in my opinion, I think looks better in terms of the VFX than the first one, which is good.
Like I said when the initial trailer came out, it all looked like it came down to compositing. And actually, the Quarter Crew pointed out something else, that the compression on YouTube is pretty aggressive compared to the compression on Disney Plus, and like the side by side of those versions is pretty wild. The detail on her skin makes a big difference. Go figure. But but beyond that, I also thought it was a more entertaining trailer. I'm pretty on board with checking it out. It looks fun.
True. And then I only have one other thing to talk about this month, and it is, of course, a bit of obligatory Transformers news.
Hell yeah.
At San Diego Comic-Con, we got our first look at the next, well, I mean, we've seen images of it before, where we got our first snippet, a little teaser trailer for the next Transformers series that is going to be I think it's Nickelodeon, but it's going to be airing first on Paramount Plus,
that makes
and
sense.
then going to show up on Nickelodeon afterwards, called Transformers Earth Spark. And we saw a little clip of the show, which I think looked promising in terms of I don't know, the pacing of it. And we got our voice cast confirmed. And if you've heard me fucking whine about Transformers casting in the past with the other two kind of more recent shows, if you recall, they've been moving in a direction of non-unionized actors for a little while now, opting to, instead of hiring Peter Cullen to play Optimus Prime, they will instead hire a person doing an impression of Peter Cullen. Literally the guy who they've had play Optimus Prime for the past 2 years, Jake Fushi, past few years, they literally found him as a YouTuber doing Peter Cullen impressions rather than an actor who can act. And it's been rough, but we got our announcement for who's playing Optimus Prime in this series, and it's fucking Alan Tudyk. He's
a tremendous voice actor and a tremendous actor. He's fantastic.
Which is okay, that's not my first choice that I would have imagined for Optimus Prime, but at least he's someone who can act and is probably going to be, I mean, we've heard snippets of the voice. It does sound like a little bit Peter Cullen impression-y, but at least, it's not like someone doing a fucking 5-second impression of him on YouTube and then asked to carry out a script with meaningful gravitas. I have high hopes about this casting because I know that Alan Tudyk is a good actor. So that's pretty exciting. And I think that the trailer was pretty promising, because I think that the last few series that we've gotten have just been the episodes too short that they can't tell an actual story, or too few episodes that they can't tell an actual story. So I'm excited.
Nice.
That's pretty much all I've got. But
All right, Chowder, hit me with your last little snippets.
I guess the first thing I want to talk about is the cheating scandal at GDQ. So let me give some context. So Games Done Quick is a charity event where speedrunners will come in and show off speed runs, and people will donate, and it's kind of like telethon or a marathon type of thing. And you can reach goals to see special speed runs. It's a fun time, and it's important to note that this isn't really a competition or anything. It's just chill people coming in, doing cool stuff in video games and just making commentary over it. And this year
which is why it's wild that somebody cheated.
Which is wild that somebody cheated, exactly. Before the pandemic, it was only in-person events, so impossible to cheat. But when the pandemic started, people were starting to play online or stream from online, and there were worries that cheating could occur, but for the most part it hasn't happened until now. And this year, Summer Games Done Quick 2022, there was a block for the game Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. The speedrunner there was a Russian player named Mekarazium, who first did an hour-long speedrun of the normal game, it was a legitimate run, but when the goal incentive was reached, he did a speedrun of the game's Blade Wolf DLC, and that's where the cheating occurred. He didn't play the game. He just
It was like a pre-recorded thing, right?
It was a pre-recorded thing, a task, which is basic. I'm not going to get into the specifics, but basically a task is he played a pre-recorded thing and was pretending
TAS is tool-assisted speedrun, is that right?
Tool-assisted speedrun. Basically, like, you use save states and editing to make it look like a world record run. And, you know, he tried to pass off this world record run as is legitimate, and, like, you know, he was like, holy shit, I got a whole world record run on GDQ, and you know, at the time, nobody was, like, questioning it, because who the fuck would do something like that? But after an investigation, everyone's like, what the fuck, man? And yeah, he's now banned from GDQ, and his reasoning is absolutely
well, it's horseshit, right? Because he also tried to play it off like he knew, like he was intentionally, like it was just a miscommunication, that he was just trying to show a tool-assisted speedrun and not lie about it, and that just people misunderstood.
Yeah.
But he, like, visibly reacted to getting a quote-unquote world record when he knew that that's not what it was. So it's just like, what? No. Like you didn't... What are you trying to bullshit us?
Like, but also, like, he's trying to say, like, oh, I just had so much passion for the speedrunning, and I wanted to show people the peak of what you can do with this game. And, like, he's just like, it wasn't my intention and to cheat, and it's just like, what are you fucking on, man? And, like, again, this isn't a competition. You're not expected to, like, perform optimally. What did you even gain from this, man? You don't get paid for this, by the way. Yeah, it's just, like,
bizarre,
bad, stupid, and, like, you know, there might be bigger consequences from now on, because, like, you know, a benefit from Dream the Speedrun was that, like, you didn't have to, like, fly all the way over to America to be a part of GDQ. You could, like, anyone from anywhere could show off a speedrun, but now it's like, maybe things will get stricter, and that just kind of sucks for anyone who for speedrunners around the world. So that's pretty dumb. Other thing I want to talk about, Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is it was canceled after its second season, which is frustrating, but at least on August 5th, which is today when that's
coming up,
when this episode comes out, is on Netflix, is going to be on Netflix. We're recording this on August 1st, by the way. So
it's a movie, right?
It's confusing.
It's a movie.
It's a movie, yeah. And, like, my God, I fucking love Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Man, it kind of is annoying that, like, one of the best shows and, like, best interpretations just, like, gets axed, while, I don't know, it's just like, well, why does everything good have to die prematurely, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, here's a silly one. So Elon Musk is trying to terminate his deal to buy Twitter, and Twitter is suing him over it. So basically, like, he's like, maybe I don't really want to buy Twitter. And Twitter's like, nope, you've already started. You got to see this through. And Elon's like, no, I don't want to. It'll bankrupt me. We don't care. We don't want it either. And rich people being fucking stupid, I guess.
If this could just result in the death of both Twitter and Elon Musk's financial status, that would be just real great, honestly, right. I think, for the world. I want Elon Musk to bankrupt himself buying Twitter and then run it into the fucking ground and then fucking die in obscurity. That would be great.
I would prefer if he used Twitter. Listen, if Twitter is going to die, it's got to take down all the many worse things with it. So, like, buy Twitter and fly that bird into the Facebook complex and just watch them explode and let the social fallout just irradiate all of us.
Yeah, but Facebook's about to kill themselves by fucking changing it to TikTok, even though their entire demographic is fucking like people in their goddamn 50s.
Facebook is going to kill itself by pouring money into metaverse and VR, which just lost them about $3 billion in a quarter again. So,
yeah.
Yep, that's fun.
Is it real?
Yeah, no, it's not. And, like, man, metaverse stuff, like, I get it. The internet was this way too, where everyone's like, we have this technology, let's build it up and do this. But it is tremendous the amount of money that's being poured into these ventures before any sort of standardization or framework is out there. I cannot believe how much cash they're willing to burn. Again, leading us to the idea that money is no longer real, which is fun. Cool. Let's round up the stories.
If we just fucking
and
pour
also,
that much money into like improving the world that we fucking have.
Too expensive.
You know. Yeah.
$3 billion.
I'm sorry, with $3 billion, you can like
that wouldn't help anyone.
Solve world hunger, solve homelessness, and still have money left over, man. It's wild.
Yeah, but those are the profit makers, so...
But, Chowder, then you can't hike the price of the Oculus Quest. No reason from $200 to $300. Like, you're missing missing the big picture.
This is just Second Life all over again, man.
Nah, this is worse. Okay, moving on. So we're going to round up the stories, try to find what we think is the top story of the month, the most interesting, impactful, or otherwise unexpected headline for what we just saw come out in July, which, again, not a lot of big stories, except for the one big story, which nobody really cared about. So let's do our best here.
Is it really a big story if nobody really cared?
It's big in scope. It is undeniably massive how much time and money and resources are going into the MCU's next two phases. And that's only what we've gotten so far. We don't know much else about Phase 6. So that's the biggest story, but what's the best story? What's the thing that, if you're going to walk away from this podcast remembering anything, which is unlikely, but if you did, what should that thing be, according to us, the people who have already said all the stuff we're about to say again? The Star Trek crossover just warms my heart in a way literally nothing else here did, just because it seems uncomplicated, unproblematic, and purely joyful. And everything else has either had a tinge of sadness or controversy to it, or a lack of enthusiasm. So I'm struggling to think of anything else that like I want to see more of, aside from the rehearsal. But again, that's just me sort of sharing a TV show that dropped this month. How about you guys? What are your nominations for top story of July 2022?
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that I care about the most is definitely fucking Alan Tudyk being Optimus Prime.
I do like that. That is exciting. I'll fuck with anything that has Alan Tudyk in it.
So, yeah, like, man, not a lot has really set my world afire. All right, this last month, July, whatever. I mean, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's fucking dope. I guess I'd go with that. That's the one that excites me the most.
I would say, like, but if we're gonna do also Marvel as being... Sorry,
it's also tinged with sadness, because, like, you know, a premature ending of a show, man. Like, at least we get to go out on this movie instead of...
Well, then, reacting to it as a news story, do you like, obviously you love the show dearly, but... I knocked something over. Obviously you love the show dearly, but how would you rate the importance or the interest of the story of its cancellation in movie? How does that new bit of news hit you?
Well, it's been canceled for a while, hasn't it?
It has been canceled for a while.
That's not. Yeah.
If
we're gonna do some Marvel thing as the news story, I think that the most important thing is the all the news about the fucking VFX artists talking about how shitty it is, rather than the news of Phase 5 and 6.
We do love a good, sad, oppressed worker top story here on this show, don't we?
There's so much of it every month.
I can throw my weight behind that, especially as the franchise seeks to do some good PR, get itself back onto a recognizable track, and grow in new and big directions. It's worth knowing what that growth is doing to people involved. So if you're gonna go ahead and watch Black Panther 7 in your fucking MetaQuest VR 2 headset, which then go ahead and understand what that actually does to people. I'm definitely good to throw my weight behind that.
Oh, please. Yeah, once we're in the point where everyone's in the fucking metaverse with headsets, don't even act like we're gonna have individual choice. It's all just gonna be fucking Zuck-controlled hive mind bullshit.
The Zuckerverse?
Yeah.
Fuck no! I don't want to see the inside of that mind.
It's not that often that I say a word that tastes bad, but I just did it. So I think this is a good time to wrap it up. So if you're going to walk away from this month with anything, we all have certain things that set our hearts ablaze, but it is worth noting that this Juggernaut is doing what Juggernauts do and destroying everything in its path. So let's try to be cognizant of that.
It's a Marvel character.
It is. We didn't even talk about the fact that they finally fucking name-dropped mutants in the MCU, so that's fun. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, that's true. They did do that.
They did.
Well,
yeah, it's a thing.
Sort of. Yeah, they very heavily alluded to it at the end of Miss Marvel, and they even dropped a little sound cue from the original X-Men.
I take it as pretty unequivocal confirmation.
Yeah, no.
But that's just me. One little bit of sad news that I didn't think was like part of the conversation, but for this recording as of I believe it was yesterday. Nichelle Nichols, Lieutenant Uhura in the original Star Trek, and recruiter, ambassador, civil rights activist for NASA and other groups, passed away yesterday at age 89. And it's big sad. She, like, on top of being part of a thing that I know very intimately, like, she was a very legitimate force for good. Set down that path by Dr. King and fucking rode that path until yesterday. And she was a kind spirit according to everybody that knew her. And I just want to say, it's very sad. Paying my respects. But that's about it. I've been Colin Ketchen, and maybe August will be interesting.
I've been Jeff Leavitt. If you want to find me, I do a YouTube channel where I do toy reviews. If that's interesting to you, that's Alchemist Prime Reviews on YouTube, and that's about it for now.
Hi, I'm Timul or Chowder, whichever you prefer. You can find me on Twitter at Timul_Chowder. I do art stuff there.
Wow.
You can also find me on our sister podcast, Dice Populi. Yep.
There we go. I am going to be back in our next episode where I believe we're going to be talking about Deltarune, a game that Chowder has asked us to play. That'll be coming up in a couple of weeks, and at the beginning of September, we will review the previous month of Geek News to give you more things to be sad about. I'm honestly hoping that we do have some more interesting stuff to talk about, because boy howdy, this was not the month for me. And this was a month where
surprising that San Diego Comic-Con usually has so much to talk about.
Yeah, no, there was this episode just was lacking energy, man.
Yeah, I had like a lot more free time this past month than I've had in like maybe a year and a half. So I could have just been soaking it all up like a sponge, but no sir, just wading through. So here we go. I'm ready to be energized and excited again. So we'll see you all in about a month.
All right. Ciao.
Sure. Fucking conservative commentator on. I'm gonna be mad about that during this. Well, really, just forever. To be honest.
No, listen. I was talking about the mechanics, not the content.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not exposed to like that particularly strong way of thinking anymore.
Well, okay. Also, I don't feel that. Just to make my fucking point clear, I don't even feel that strongly about it. I liked Loki. I'm just saying it was something that I had grander issue with.
Yeah, I think I just am typically used to talking to people that are like, oh yeah, this was an inconsistency, but like that's usually not enough to like bump them out of it. Like, and again, this is not a criticism. It's just me like calibrating that like these things hit you in a bigger or different way than, you know, most people I talk to. Like it's that is it. That is all it is.
Fair.